Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another fantastic episode of The Left Wing. I am TJ Whitehead, Powers Taken Not Given, joined as always by John Cooper Paz of Counterpoint Politics. How have you been, my friend? How have you been?
Doing well, doing well. Our number one favorite viewer is having some health problems, so been pretty busy visiting my grandfather in the hospital. But he's doing good, doing recovery, and hopefully he's watching right now. I sent him the link, so hopefully he figured out how to get it going on his phone. But other than that, business as usual over here, TJ.
Good old grandpa. I hope he's doing well. During your trips to go see him or anyone else, have you been noticing the high gas prices? Have you noticed this, John? It's a little higher than it was last week.
So here's the nice thing about being me is that I just put the card in the pump, and it's going to charge me at a later date, and I'm not going to worry about it. As long as it doesn't get too crazy, I live a comfortable enough life where I can ignore it. But unfortunately, most people can't. And it is funny. I kind of read this thing the other day, like the effect that the war in Iran and all of any sort of energy crisis is going to have on your average American is not going to be felt at the pump. That is not really where you feel it. You feel it in everything. And if energy goes up, the cost of everything goes up, from transportation to consumer goods to food, and eventually even your rent. But we have big giant billboards putting the gas price out there for everyone to see every single day, and it's something they have to interact with on a regular basis. So that number going up impacts the general American electorate more than actual prices or any sort of economic indicators do. And I find that interesting. I feel like it's something that we talk about a lot on this show, where reality doesn't really matter unless people notice that reality. And gas price is one of those things. It's everywhere. You cannot not notice it.
Yeah, gas prices, like what John referred to there, the fact that he puts the card in the machine and it charges him what it's going to charge him. What's he going to do? Not buy the gas? It's referred to as I think economists call it an inelastic cost. This is something that you have to buy. You're not going to be able to ignore the fact that you need gas unless you start walking or biking everywhere. And this is the United States, buddy. We're not doing that. So it's true that what are you going to do? You can whine about it, but it's there. But it is a strong cultural point of how people feel about the economy, because like John mentioned, there's huge boards telling you how much the gas costs every single day. You couldn't avoid it if you tried. You went out there and they forced the price on you, let you know. And the United States economy is, well, not the economy, but the United States civilization, our society is kind of built around access to cheap fuel, especially with the advent of suburbs and everything. Then again, John, you live in a city, right? Do you live in a city, or do you live on the outskirts?
I live kind of on the outskirts of the city, so I can take public transportation reliably into the city. But for a lot of things, I can walk to the grocery store if I absolutely need to. I don't, but if I needed to, I could. And I could get to a lot of areas by a bike. But there's a lot of other things. Like I can't go to my jujitsu gym on a bike really safely, at least. I can't get to my parents' house, which is 40 minutes away. So I still use the car a decent amount. But I'm fortunate enough to live in a place where if I had to, I could sell the car, get rid of it, and not worry about at least the price of gas when it comes to the pump.
Yeah, and also it's so much worse for people living in suburbs because they can't get rid of the car
Yep.
at all. So yeah, maybe they can walk to a few places, but odds are they live 30 minutes, 25 minutes away from where they work. And that really wouldn't exist without our cheap automobile access. So yeah, our society is kind of built around that. We're kind of locked into this system, and seeing the gas prices go up. We talk with this with every presidential election. Gas prices is the thing, to the extent that your average American seems to think that the president has like a button on his desk that he can press for higher or lower gas prices. Now, as Donald Trump has shown us, he kind of does have one in an abstract sense while he did it, but he can't just lower them now after doing some actions. But yeah, this is interesting. I want to get to that later because we forgot to do banter first last time we did the show, and I thought that was a mistake because it kind of interrupted the flow. But I found something, I swear to God, John, 20 minutes ago, I ran across this and I said, oh, this is perfect banter. This is left-wing banter. Like God, like an angel parted the clouds and brought it down. This is perfect for us right here. But this is well, actually, I'll go to Colby first. Colby says, quick invincible question. Is TJ just short for tech jacket? Okay, no. It's not. But I have not seen the newest episode of Invincible. I know last week we said we tried to watch it, talk about it.
I'm pretty sure they unleashed a batch of 3 last night. And I was like, well, we're not catching up on that in one day. So let's make it next Thursday. We'll catch up on everything that is to date. TJ, if you can, if we can commit to watching the new episode, I think there's only going to be one. And then we can have a recap of the first 4 episodes on Thursday. I think that would be the way to go about this.
That sounds like a deal to me. All right. And Tech Jacket was in season 3, so not spoiling. Okay. All right. So I saw this.
Joseph Panette. Yo. Nice to see you, Joseph. I don't think I've seen you comment before, but this is our Q&A show. So if you have any questions for us throughout this, we're just doing Q&A shows, by the way, now, guys, for the foreseeable future. I've been kind of liking this format better than having planned topics. So unless we have a planned topic, we will do a Q&A show.
All right. So ran across this from the Pew Research Center. And this is a poll in which they asked Americans about a dozen different things and said, do you believe this is moral or immoral? And seeing the number, the percentage that they got. So check it out. This is the poll right here. So at the top of the list, married people having an affair. 90% of Americans responded to think that was morally wrong. And about 7% said morally acceptable. That's about what you would guess, right? That's not a shocking number right there. The other ones on here are a little more interesting. Viewing pornography.
Shocking. I'm a little shocked that 7% said it's not like an affair. Kind of by definition, it is not acceptable. I don't know. Like, I guess there's more people than I thought who are just okay with cheating but are also monogamous. Very interesting section of people there.
So yeah, that was interesting too. I was trying to figure that out because it's like asking, is murder wrong? Like, murder is definitionally wrong. You could ask, is killing someone wrong? Well, that depends on the context, but murder, that's wrong. So I guess maybe they thought there could be some contextual reasons for this, that say your spouse is abusive, or maybe you're technically married, but you're separated, or maybe, there could be like some...
You know what? You got me there, TJ, because that would be an affair still, but it would. I would say it's not a moral issue at that point. So
yeah.
You got me there, TJ. There we go.
Well, that's my guess. That's the only way it makes any sense to me, because otherwise, if you're in a monogamous relationship, because you're right, if it's not monogamous, if both partners are saying we're okay with you stepping out, it's no longer an affair, right? I don't get it, but yeah. So that's all right. So here's oops. Here we go. Okay, the second one on this list: viewing pornography. 52% of people view it as morally wrong, and what have we got? Oh, hold on, wait a minute. Oh, so I misread that, John. I misread that. Okay, I misread that. Okay, that actually makes more sense then, because 7% say not a moral issue and something morally acceptable. Actually, still kind of the same with the marriage one. But okay, so for viewing pornography, 15% say it's morally acceptable. 32% say not a moral issue. That is shocking to me that it's only 15%.
So, I mean, morally acceptable and not a moral issue are basically the same thing in my mind. Like, okay, I guess I don't know. Like I don't really know what the real separation is there, because it's not saying like morally good. It's saying morally acceptable, which to me is basic. Like, neutral morality is acceptable. So kind of a weird question, weird way to segregate those two groups. But I'm surprised. I agree. 52% in the morally wrong. That seems high to me. I guess a lot of people do shit that they think is morally wrong a lot. We hand up, we do it with, not being vegan and stuff. But like, I don't know. Seems like that number's higher to me than I would have guessed.
52% is shockingly high. Like, it doesn't make sense that it's that high. I mean, if someone would have said that it was 52% back in, 1964 or something, okay. But today, I don't know. I would expect a decent number, like 25, 30 maybe, but over half of the polled population, insane. Okay, gets pretty. Having an
thing
abortion.
that also, like, one more note on that, the thing that, like, very much grinds my gears is I know that, like, 80% of that 50% isn't even saying it's morally wrong for the right reasons. Like, I can make a pretty strong case for how pornography is inherently sexually coercive and therefore inherently morally wrong. I would not make that argument, but it certainly happens in some cases. But all of them are just like, well, God doesn't want me jerking it, and that's why pornography is wrong, and that's what makes it really sad.
They took the lazy way out of explaining why they think we're. Look at us just projecting answers onto these people who we don't know. But John's right. Also,
I'll bet a lot of money on that.
Yeah,
most of the people.
And I'm gonna guess 50% of that 52% at least are men, probably more. And I guarantee 90% of them watch pornography. So.
I'm gonna guess 50% of this population is men. Really going out on a limb.
I'm gonna guess. Well, no. These are weighted different ways. Men and women will answer differently as well. But yeah, I'm gonna guess probably more. But okay.
Ooh, that would be good. Do more men or more women think pornography is morally wrong? I would actually probably go with more men.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it'd be slightly higher. I don't know if it'd be significantly higher, but I'd say it'd be slightly higher. Because once again, the argument can go from two different directions or more. Having an abortion, this one didn't surprise me. 47% morally wrong, and 52% say morally acceptable or not a moral issue. That one doesn't shock me. I can see that one being split down the middle because there are plenty of people out there on the left or liberal side of it who you ask them about abortion and they will say, yeah, I'm not a big fan of it. I don't think it's okay. I would never do it myself, but I don't think the government should get involved for X, Y, and Z and for, bodily autonomy reasons, stuff like that. I just don't think that it's right. And I mean, there's plenty of people like that. So that one doesn't shock me because you can still think abortion is morally wrong, but still fight for it to be legal. I can understand that.
Yeah, no, I'm actually surprised it's only 47 for that very reason. I'm also surprised that the not a moral issue is so high because, bro, that's like the go-to moral issue. Like that is one of the most hotly debated moral issues in our society. How can you possibly say this is not a moral issue whatsoever? I've never heard many arguments either for or against abortion that do not involve morality to some degree or the other.
Really? I think I could see it. I think I would say it's not a moral issue. I think I would say, I mean,
like,
well,
I'd say bodily
so as in it's morally good?
I'm saying it is a moral, again, that, you know what, let's ignore that differentiation.
Yes, I agree. Yes.
We can't even agree on what it means. So I don't think anyone responding to this really had a consistent belief in what those two answers meant. So we're just treating all blue the same.
All right. Homosexuality, John, 39% say it's morally wrong. 39%, John. 60% say, it's okay. That number surprised me more than anything else on this list. I would expect maybe 20, maybe 25, but Jesus Christ, in 2026, I'm shocked that it's nearly 4 out of 10 people think, oops, that's my phone, is homosexuality is morally wrong.
It is shocking. I saw this chart with that specific headline because that is a shocking amount of people who think that being gay is a moral failing. Again, they're also not even saying gay sex here. They're just saying homosexuality. Being gay, being attracted to the same sex is a moral wrong. That is insane. Utterly unbelievable, to be perfectly honest. And I don't even understand how that happened. How do that many people exist who think that homosexuality is morally wrong? They must be walking around us and just being quiet about it, because I know I live in a city and stuff, but I don't see too many people who are just straight up openly anti-homosexuality, anti-LGBT even in today's climate, you rarely see. Usually, people just like attack the trans population
Yeah,
to get the
yeah.
homophobia out. But like, it's still a quiet part. Like people don't often say that out loud. Still, it's kind of shocking that over a third of the population agrees it's morally wrong. Like that's crazy.
Yeah, this is a number that I would have expected to see, back in 2010 or something like that.
Mhm.
Because, and John and I joke about this all the time, how Republicans spent the better part of 15 years telling us that, hey, we never cared that you were gay. We never cared about gay people. That was never an issue for us. Although I was like, no, you did. We were there. We saw all the marches. We saw the protests. We saw all of the constitutional amendments to states that banned gay marriage. Like, this is a huge moral issue, you guys. You're only pretending it's not because you lost. So I knew the remnant was there. I knew that there were people who actually cared about this. I just thought over time that people kind of, rolled back on this. I wonder if interracial, I don't think that's on here, but interracial marriage, I wonder if those holdouts are still up there too, because holy shit, 4 out of 10, that is kind of wild.
That would be
okay.
But that's the thing, TJ. Like I never really, I struggle to take homophobes seriously. Like I struggle to take them seriously that they actually like how it just doesn't make any sense to me. Like I cannot take the position and try and put myself in their shoes. Like, how does this annoy you? How does this upset you in any way, shape, or form? Gay people, like, it's not like back in the day where you rarely saw, like, they're all around. They're constantly in popular media. How do you find it to be a strange or scary thing now? Shouldn't this be normalized? It's honestly embarrassing if you're still afraid of gay people. Like, it's very weird.
I mean, the answer I would guess would be religion, that, God says it's wrong, so I have to believe it's wrong. Now, it might not make any sense any other way, but I just wouldn't figure that there are that many religious people still around who believe to that extent,
That many religious people who believe that specific part, because so many religious people, like, they kind of take that and say, oh, well, that's not really part of my religion. They don't believe that part of the book. That's the same part of the book with the slave rules and stuff. So we're just not going to listen to that one. And that's like a lot of religious people. It's not. I would have guessed it's the majority of religious people, and maybe not. Maybe I would have been wrong about that.
Well,
yeah, a significant portion.
I mean, if 4 out of 10 of the total population thinks it's morally wrong, religion's gonna be way higher than half.
Yeah,
there's no way it's less.
Again, but I thought that a larger majority of religious people just ignored the whole anti-gay thing. Like, I thought that more religious people have and I'm just wrong. I've overestimated the religious people once again. People always say I hate the religious people, but I constantly give them too much credit.
No, yeah. Well, you give them too much credit, and as we've been over many times on the show, you like to say they don't really believe this. They just say this. Well, no, they do, man. I don't know what to tell you. I was there. I synced it with my own 2 eyeballs. They actually, well, now I know it's difficult because their beliefs are inconsistent and illogical. They, like you mentioned, the part that the Bible says that if a man lies with a man, they shall both be put to death and everything. Well, in that same book, it says that slavery is perfectly okay, following certain stipulations, and they follow the one part but not the other. Yes, you're right. That doesn't make any sense. Doesn't matter. Like, they believe it, and they don't know where it is. They couldn't find the verse for you. Someone told them that God hates gay people, and they all right, they're cool. And by the way, according to the Bible, he does. And so, yeah, this, what's weird to me? This might make people upset, but I don't understand gay Christians. I don't get it. I really don't understand it. And I've seen a lot of hoops people jump through trying to sanitize the Bible, trying to say that, oh, people misinterpreted the Bible. They twisted it for their own pleasure or their own joy or their own bigotry. And say, no, I mean, sometimes, yeah, but when it comes to being against gay people, yeah, it's pretty clear. The Bible is very explicit on that.
So you've done a little bit more Bible study than I have in my life. And one thing that I've consistently heard but never really took the time to look into is that specific Leviticus line, a man should not lie with another man, is really talking about a man lying with a boy and talking about pedophilia, not homosexuality. Is there any truth to that? Is it just kind of a quasi maybe thing? Have you heard this before?
Yeah, John, I have heard this, and the answer is kind of complicated. It's no. There is no truth to it. There's none whatsoever. This is one of the. That's actually the example I was thinking of. That there's
Uh-huh.
I was thinking of that one, and I was thinking of the spare the rod. Yeah, the man who spares the rod hates his child. Now that's not about child abuse. Yeah, it is, but it's from Leviticus 18, I believe, and it says that if a man lies with a man, it's an abomination unto God. And people say, well, actually, like what John said, it's saying that if a man lies with a boy, that's an abomination. One, it's bullshit. And the word does not say boy, it doesn't at all. And to really hammer the point home, a few verses later, or later in the next chapter, it tells you the punishment for the man lying with the man. You know what it is? They are both to be put to death. So if you're telling me that this verse is meant to protect children against pedophiles, God's solution is to kill the pedophile and the child. You're going to have to explain that to me. And you know, all people who I heard correctly point this out, Charlie fucking Kirk. Charlie Kirk nailed it. He says, no, listen, people try to say that this is about pedophilia. It's not. What it is about is, now this is kind of complicated here. The complicated part is that it is about protecting higher status males, because in ancient societies, our categorizations of like heterosexuality and homosexuality weren't really a thing. They what really mattered was your status, and basically your status was dependent on who was being penetrated. And the verse was really about protecting higher status males and saying that lower status males cannot penetrate higher status males. That is the abomination. It only works the other way around. So it's not an explicit ban on homosexuality, at least that verse in particular, but it isn't about protecting kids at all. And there's plenty of other verses that shit on homosexuals. I'm glad you brought that up, because people
As
do it all the
Chief
time.
Ass pointed out, it's not just literally because Paul's letter also indicate that homosexuals won't inherit the kingdom of heaven. That's the reason my old church leaned on. Yes. And by the way, Hugh Jass, your other question, am I taking a break from Threads? Yes, I am. I have been on a social media detox of sorts, and it has been wonderful, TJ. I went on my work trip and didn't have time for it, and then I came back and I was like, let me just not post for a little bit while longer and see how long I can go before I get the itch again.
I hate how much better your mental health is getting away from social media. You realize like, oh wow, yeah, this is actually, I'm kind of poisoning myself here. What is happening? Yeah, so I do understand that. Heather says, I'm shocked that so many people think being gay is morally wrong still. Yep, absolutely. Colby says gay sex was a crime until the new millennium in most of the United States. I think it was 2004 or 2005 when Missouri had it on one of our state ballots that they were overturning sodomy laws. By the way, guys, sodomy isn't just anal sex, it's oral sex too. But people don't count that as sodomy for some reason. But the technical definition of sodomy covers oral sex as well. And I remember my pastor telling us that we all needed to get out and vote against this measure that was trying to decriminalize homosexuality. And even back then, I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. Why do I care about that? But yeah, this is a big deal for the Christians. They kind of love that shit. All right. Oh, roll through these last ones here. Patients ending their life with the help of a doctor. Only 35. That one shocked me. If you would have guessed like the average American, I would have guessed it'd been higher. I don't know about you, John.
Yeah, I would have guessed that would have been higher too. That's one of those like really, really tough moral dilemmas for me that I kind of go back and forth on a lot, because on the individual level, yes, of course, a doctor should be able to help someone end their life in the most reasonable and painless way possible. On the systemic level, well, that creates a lot of gray area for murder. And not like murder in the I hate you sense, but murder in the we're going to save money here sense. And I don't know, TJ. That's one of those ones where I'm like, it can go either way, and I'm not going to fight too hard to change it on either side.
Really? So what do you mean? Like you'd be nervous about it because you think the doctors we're going to kill you? I don't know. What are you trying to say?
So it's one of those things where morally, like if I'm answering this question morally, I'm saying yes, it's acceptable for a doctor, like doctor-assisted suicide is morally acceptable. But I do feel like that's one of those systemic rules that might get out of hand, might cause perverse incentives in the healthcare system, which of course we have about 1 billion of those anyway. But it's just one of those ones where I'm like, I don't even need strong evidence to understand why it might be best to not legally allow that. And just kind of have a wink, wink, nod, nod. Here, this is what you need to do in order to keep yourself from dying painlessly. Make sure to do these things. Wink, wink, nod, nod. Might be better than state-sanctioned medically assisted suicide. I can see both sides of the argument. What I'm saying, TJ.
So yeah, I guess that I would like to see the stipulations that countries that do have it, as in what they have, because yeah, I've always thought this. I don't think I've done a video or talked about it publicly, but you know how we've grown up and we've watched old people and they slowly get worse and worse, and you know, and the end is near and they're just waiting around for it to happen, and they send them to hospice, and which is basically saying, we can't do anything for you, here's a bed, hope it's comfortable on your way out. I can't see that happening to our generation. We would never fucking do that. I don't believe, I know I wouldn't. I mean, it's like, then again, it's easy for me to say, but you know, I just can't imagine everyone, 50 years from now saying, yeah, we're gonna, sit around this room and wait till it happens. Like, no, I think our generation is like, no, end this. I'm not gonna stick around for this at all. So I can see it gaining a lot of popularity, certainly by the time we get up there, but there would need to be some rules on this, because yeah, I think that dying with dignity on your own terms, getting everything squared away, being able to address people and talk to them while you're still in a sound state of mind, and you still have dignity about yourself, that's a big deal. I think that could easily pass and should. But the problem does come is like, okay, who does this apply to? If you have a 13-year-old who's perfectly healthy come in and say, yeah, I hate my life, I want to go, does the doctor have to assist? No, I don't think so. I think now that seems morally wrong to me, but the rules would need to be in place to prevent something like that happening. I don't know how that law would need to be written, though.
Yeah, it's a tough one. That's why I say, like, it's one of those ones where I don't have a strong take on either side of that aisle, because both sides have really strong arguments.
I got a strong take. Listen, I'm all for it. I am all for it. I think that I saw this story about this girl. She was like 20 something, and she was engaged, and she found out she had an inoperable brain tumor, like 6 months to live. And I forget what country she was in, whatever, but they had the wedding in the hospital. She couldn't leave, and they did medically assisted suicide. I said, yeah, of course. You're going to live in pain for the rest of your life for no reason? Yeah, I don't know. So I'm all for that. All right, I said I was going to go through these. Okay, death penalty, 34%, expected it to be higher. Gambling, 29%. That's about where I'd guess. Spanking, 23, and then it just kind of goes, further down. These aren't super shocking. Marijuana, 23, divorce, 23, being extremely rich, 18. That seems high. That seems higher. 2 out of 10 people think being extremely rich is morally wrong. I don't know, maybe 1. I don't know. 2 out of 10 seems like a lot. And
I think the word extremely does a lot of leading in that question.
It does.
Extremely
It does.
Implies excess, and you know what I mean. So if it just said being rich, I would agree with you, or even being very rich, but the extremely really leads it.
Yeah, that's true. Drinking alcohol, 16. Using IVF. You said that's wild. We're back to the suffragette days.
Yeah, like who? What? Like that's so pervasive. Like, how can you possibly being against drinking personally, or saying, hey, you shouldn't drink for health reasons? That's totally makes sense to me. Drinking we do it too much, but morally wrong that's a take.
You grew up Catholic, so you won't understand this, but the Protestant evangelicals, so certain sects of them do think just the act of drinking alcohol is morally wrong. That's how I was raised. That's how I was raised.
Any Christian belief thought that.
Yeah. This was a big deal growing up in our we were taught that wine is a mocker, strong drink is raging. These Bible verses that are talking about the danger of wine and everything and alcohol, and we were taught as a Baptist that alcohol is just an automatic no. You can't do it. It is a moral sin to have it ever touch your lips. And in fact, Billy Sunday was a Baptist preacher back in the 20s during the the Prohibition days and everything, which is kind of like where a lot of these beliefs can trace their standards to. Now, this is not standard along most Christian doctrines. Like most Christian doctrines are not like that. Specifically Catholics who, do you guys literally drink wine at the communion, right?
Not every
Yeah.
Catholic church does it. My Catholic church, like, we did it for a while and then we stopped for some reason. Not really sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it is a literal thing.
Yeah. We had grape juice. Like we would never drink wine, like that. But yeah, so there are a lot of religious people, certainly of Baptist and adjacent Christian
Although,
beliefs who would
although
say
TJ,
that.
technically, I misspoke there. We cannot drink wine because we believe that it transmutates into the blood of Christ as it goes down our throat. So it's no longer wine when we're drinking it, TJ. It is literal human blood.
John, I remember learning about transubstantiation when I was in school.
Transubstantiates, not transmutates. My bad.
I couldn't believe what I was reading. I could not believe. And listen, I read some insane stuff, right? I read about Jonah being swallowed by a fish. I read about what was his name? The guy with the talking donkey. I can't remember. Whatever. He had a talking donkey. You had angels with flaming swords. You had all sorts of wild stuff. But then I read that the Catholics believe that the bread and wine literally turns into the body and blood of Jesus Christ. Like Charlie Day said, that Christ came down to earth to die for your sins, and every week you proceed to just eat the man. It's just like, this is, I don't understand. How seriously they take that shit. I thought it sounded insane, and I can't believe that doctrine is last. Like, okay, this is clearly a metaphor. I know we believe a lot of stuff in the Bible is real. This is the most obvious metaphor I think I've read in all of literature. When Jesus, do you think when Jesus was administering the Last Supper to the disciples that he was serving them his own flesh and blood? Like, do you guys really? Because listen, if we're being consistent here, that's what you're saying. You're saying the first Last Supper wasn't the body and blood of Christ? I don't know. So, yeah, it just sounds really stupid to me. But yeah, he's right. That's what they believe.
And just so people are aware, this is not like some small potatoes thing. There were like thousands of people have been killed over this ideological difference, over whether or not the bread and wine physically transformed into human flesh and blood. This was there were battles fought over this. It was a really, really big deal back in, like, I don't know, 1400s. Who fucking knows? But it was pretty big.
You can find
bones.
Yes, you can find just sprawling polemics of people talking about how shitty these people in the other town are because they do or don't believe in transubstantiation. I don't know. It is just wild. Oh, we got a lot of comments. Thank you, guys. Heather says, good point that most Christians couldn't find the chapter and verse about homosexuality and that they also possess no understanding of the context. This is where it gets frustrating. John and I, when we talk to religious people, and look, if you want to be religious, fine. Hey, do what you want to do. But you can't pretend that we're making stuff up about your belief when we know more about it than you do. And Colby says, if you lived back then, would you be a top or a bottom? Why wouldn't you just ask if I'm one now? Why would you? I don't know why it matters. That seems like I don't understand. Garby the cat. Trump wears low-cut tees and squishes his chest together to impress BB Netscape Yahoo. What is the Netscape Yahoo joke?
I don't know what Netscape Yahoo's. Obviously, it's a play on his last name, but I don't know what Netscape is, and I imagine Yahoo's just insultingly sort of like his last name. I don't know, but
John,
I'm picturing it right now, Garby the cat. I appreciate the $5, but I really hate thinking about that image. So, thank you,
John. You don't know what Netscape is?
No.
Oh,
Do you know
damn.
what Netscape is?
Yeah. It was a browser, an internet browser back in the old days. It's
I,
is it a
I made
search?
TJ feel old here, guys.
No, well, actually, I might have been wrong. I'm old. A search engine. I thought Netscape was a browser. Okay, it's a search engine. Okay, well, never mind then. I guess I forgot too. I just remember Netscape Navigator. You know what? I'll look that up and check on that. Oh, thank you, Heather. It was Balaam and the Talking Donkey. Okay, that's it for the chart. I just thought the chart was pretty interesting right there. Some really cool ones right there, especially the IVF. That's the last one I wanted to go over real quick. Sorry, John, but IVF. It states that 9% believe IVF is morally wrong. That number is higher than I would have guessed maybe a year ago. Now I'm not as surprised by it after last year. We saw all the Republicans talking about it. One interesting thing, though, that isn't on here. Let me check one more time. I don't think I saw it. No. And I want to ask your opinion on this because I heard conservatives complain about what is it called? Surrogacy for a long time because it was when Dave Rubin is conservative commentary who's married to a man, and they have two children through surrogacy. And conservatives, I thought they were upset because Dave Rubin was gay and he was raising kids. You know, they hate that automatically. But a lot of them were actually upset at the act of surrogacy in the first place. They said, yeah, you're just purchasing another human being's body to make them have a baby. This is just a way for rich people to exploit poor people's actual bodies for their own gain, so they don't got to go through pregnancy themselves. And I was like, you know what? I don't agree with that, but I see where they're coming from because it reminds me a lot of those stories of like we're going to use poor people's bodies, and when rich people get old, we can like amputate a poor person's arm and sew it onto themselves or something like that. It kind of gave flashbacks to that in my mind. I was like, yeah. Oh, Colby, thank you. It's also a far left position. I've heard people on the left say the same thing. And I was like, you know what? I'm not with them, but I don't think it's quite as insane of an argument as the IVF is. Once again, not saying I think surrogacy is wrong. I don't. But have you ever heard that argument, John?
Yeah, I've heard that argument, and I have a similar retort to it that I have to prostitution, or really there's a whole genre of left-wing argument that goes, if you are selling your body to a richer person, that is a means of economic exploitation, and it goes all the way down to everything. In which case I just say, okay, well, we don't live in a communist utopia. And until we do, we need to sell our body in some way, shape, or form. I believe Mia Khalifa had a very good statement about this, where someone questioned her about whether how she morally sees her porn stardom, and she was like, we got soldiers out here selling their body to kill poor brown people across the world. I'm pretty fine with selling my body for sex, and I was like, yeah, that makes sense. We sell our bodies in many ways, shapes, or forms. Just because it has a sexual connotation doesn't make it any worse or better than any other form of labor. And you can make arguments about how economic inequality leads to exploitation. That is morally wrong. But if you're going to be drawing such hard lines, that really doesn't make much sense to me, because at that rate, you can look at anything and go, yeah, we shouldn't go visit South American countries and poor countries on tourist trips because we're just exploiting those people there for our own gain because we just happen to be born in a wealthier country. And it's like, yeah, I mean, you're right, I get that, but also it's one of the easiest wealth transfers to those places that we can possibly imagine. And to be against it kind of would do a lot more harm than good, unless you're able to change the entire fucking economic system of the world, which you are not. And so that's kind of where I place that argument in that bucket of, I see what you're saying, but it is fundamentally flawed if you just open up the scope of your thinking a little bit.
I for the most part agree. Because selling your body is kind of unfair when it's used specifically for sex work, is when it's used. And when if you're working, you're selling your body in some sense. The military is a great example of that. Like you're literally signing up to die. You're owned by the state. You are property of the United States government. You have no right to tell someone else that they're doing something degrading to their bodies when you're willing to be blown to pieces for it. And where was I going with this? The difference, because it becomes a matter of degrees, like anything else. That, whenever you go to work, you're selling your muscle, you're selling your brain, you're selling your heart and everything. But when it comes to actual body parts, there are like limits that we put on people that you can't sell your body parts or something. And so I think they slot it more in that category, right? That's what I would guess. If I were talking to them, I imagine that's what
Maybe,
they'd say.
yeah. But again, that's one of those similar to the doctor-assisted suicide thing where I'm like, the only reason I'm against it is because of the systemic abuse that would take place if it were legal. Not so much the act of selling one's body part would be morally wrong. It's your fucking body, bro. Do what you want with it. It's only illegal because if we made that legal, fucking McDonald's would be selling children's kidneys from fucking China, and we don't fucking want that. So that's why it's illegal, not because it's morally wrong, in my opinion.
And a couple more things here. Garby. I'm loving Garby. Garby says, I Encarted it. John, do you remember Microsoft Encarta?
No, I do not.
No way. There's no way you remember Microsoft Encarta. Okay, thank you. A fellow old Garby. So back when computers first started becoming popular, desktops and for families and everything, like when you bought it, it came with like a package of entertainment for you. And one of them was AOL, America Online, and you could download it and then you could, chat to people. But it also came with this really cool CD called Microsoft Encarta. And Microsoft Encarta was an encyclopedia that was on a CD. Now you were alive in 1998 or whatever, and the only way that you could reference information at your fingertips was through this wall of books called an encyclopedias. That having it on a CD and having pictures, you could like flip it, amazing, blew my mind. Like Microsoft Encarta was one of the coolest things I ever had. Of course, it's out of date now with the internet, but I appreciate that. And Colby, last comment here. Why did TJ sign up to get his shit blown smooth off? That's a great question right there, Colby. He's like, why did I sign up to join the military? Well, I wanted to travel to foreign countries and meet exotic people and witness their cultures and study their inhabitants and then kill them. That is why I joined the United States military. All right. So speaking of did you like that, John?
I was waiting for the punchline, DJ, and you did not disappoint.
All right. Okay. Speaking of killing people in foreign exotic lands, how about that Iran war? John? What is
This has been one of like, I don't regret ever saying that like I supported military intervention because I still was correct in that take. But this has just gone to batshit insane levels of we had no plan and we're TJ, this is gonna last forever. I don't know what the exit ramp here is. It's just gonna keep escalating because here's the thing. Iran isn't gonna move. They can't. Why would they? If they move on, they've always not been able to move on this, but especially now, the leadership in Iran isn't going to just surrender. Then what do they have left? And then we're not going to stop because we're too fucking proud, and Israel isn't going to stop because they want to eliminate Iran, and this is their best opportunity to do so. And of course, even if we thought maybe it was in our best interest to stop, well, we're not going to just let Israel go and keep going because they're going to keep going. So we might as well join them. This is going to go on forever, TJ. This is going to go on until there is a new president of the United States. That is my bold hot take here, and everyone's going to hate it, but nothing will actually change because even when Democrats have a blue wave in Congress, they're still not going to do anything about it because even somehow, Democratic leadership is not like unilaterally opposed to this, and it's batshit insane.
When you say it's not going to end, I'm not like, what do you mean? Like, you think that the United States military is going to keep bombing Iran for 3 years?
Yeah. I mean, we're at like 2 years here, 2.5. Why would it end? Unless we put boots on the ground, we can't end the war, and we're not going to or if we do put boots on the ground, it's not going to end in fucking 3 years. Like there's no way we can topple the regime in Iran before in the next 2 years. It's incredibly unlikely, and I don't see us just giving up. Like I really don't see any other path because it would involve Donald Trump saying he was wrong.
Oh, I mean, I think there's one. I think Trump could just say we've won and stop. That's
But
what I
Israel
would
is going
do.
to stop, TJ. He can't say that when Israel's still going to war with Iran. Israel is not going to stop. Why would they? And so you're right. Under normal circumstances, this would be a situation where Donald Trump might just say, "Oh, mission accomplished. We did it," and move on. But the fighting will keep happening. And that's not going to play well with the powers that be. And maybe Donald Trump really wants to stop it, but the support of the war, however, I will say is important to them because they are doing everything they fucking can to keep oil prices down. Did you see that they are considering lifting the sanctions on Iranian oil?
Hilarious, hilarious, man. So
So
funny.
funny.
So funny.
Just like fucking geopolitics in a nutshell there, where in order to maintain enough American war support, we need to lift punishment on the country we are going to war with in order to reduce the price of oil for about 2 weeks. Just utterly insane.
Look, the whole Strait of Hormuz thing is like Trump bombs Iran for no good reason at all. Like it's been funny watching them flounder on why we did this. That Iran is an imminent threat. We've bombed them. Trump keeps saying we've. How many times has he said now that we've already won? We've destroyed their navy, their air force, their army. They have no military capacity left. We're still going to keep bombing them, though, which kind of begs the question, well, what are you bombing? If they have no military left, well, what the hell are you doing? Of course, that doesn't make sense. Saying that we've got it taken care of. Will you guys please come and help us? We need help to secure the Strait of Hormuz. And Trump being the baby brain that he is, when he gets up there saying that, one, he says, who would have guessed that Iran would have attacked Saudi Arabia or UAE or Bahrain, all these places where we have American military bases, which he conveniently left out. Like they just got pissed off that the United States attacked, so they sent a missile to Bahrain for no reason. That's how Trump frames it. But it's like, no, obviously they're going to attack the U.S. installations that we've been surrounding Iran with. There was a meme that I saw like 10 years ago where it showed like a map of the Middle East and it showed Iran and it showed all the military bases around. And it's like, look how close Iran is to our military bases. What are they trying to do? Like, we've been threatening the Iranians for 50 years now, and they finally attack one of our bases after we attacked them. And Trump acts surprised. He could not have seen this coming. But man, the shutting down the Strait of Hormuz is just one of the funniest comedies I've had the pleasure of witnessing in my life. And that Iran is not a global superpower, right? Like they cannot match us, but they have outsmarted us. They have absolutely outsmarted us in every way, from depleting our missile supplies to using just their cheap technology to say, oh yeah, we have control over this very important body of water and we're not going to let you pass. We're going to make you suffer. Oh, the Chinese and Indians, we'll let their tankers through, which is so funny. It's just so funny that they didn't see this. So yeah, I mean, I can actually see some way, we'll get to that later about what they'll stop. The support for the people. This has been really interesting to me, that we joke about this, so joke is the wrong word, but we've observed this for a long time, that we thought that the United States populace had learned their lesson over the last 20 years with the war on terror. Everyone kind of agreed on this. This is like one of the issues is, oh yeah, this world police stuff, we're all against this. Everyone, no matter red, blue, whatever, they all thought the same thing until Trump came along, and now they're all for it because look at this poll, John. I think I titled this that Republicans really love Trump's Iran war. And I put a picture from CNN. There was a video of a guy showing that 89% of MAGA identifying Republicans support the war in Iran. And I was going to play that clip, but I thought, oh, that might be unfair because a MAGA identifying Republican may not accurately represent the entire Republican Party, right? They CNN purposely split those two up. I couldn't find that clip, so I went to, what is this, YouGov. And this is the poll YouGov did, that more independent, this is about independence and how they disapprove of how Trump is handling Iran, who gives a fuck. But Republicans, this is as of March 16th, 81% of Republicans support Trump's war on Iran. So yeah, the Republicans still holding on strong, even though they couldn't begin to tell you why. And like not just Republican voters, but Republican pundits, Republican politicians, their answers all are some version of, well, we trust Donald Trump. Have you seen anything like that?
Yeah, it's utterly insane, TJ. Like, it genuinely, as you said, this is something that we all thought we agreed on not that long ago. In fact, one of the first things Donald Trump did on his rise to power was become, I don't know if it was the first, but at least one of and the most outspoken critic of Bush's invasion of Iraq. That was his coming of age moment in American politics when he was on the Republican debate stage and he went after Jeb Bush for the Iraq war. And that's what he killed Jeb Bush and then he became a player. And that's how he did it. And you would think that the people who are like, oh, this guy's a breath of fresh air, they would also be against this because it's not even the same thing. It's much worse. It's way worse. At least in Iraq, they had the fucking humility to think they had to lie to us and make up shit about WMD. This one, it's just, yeah, we did this, support it. Like that's the entire argument being made is that, yeah, there's no consistent line of reasoning from the Trump administration. The objective seems to change day to day, hour to hour, sometimes even in the middle of the same Trump speech. What is being talked about completely changes 180, and nobody seems to have any clear reasoning for why we are fighting Iran right now. But I mean, we know why, but like, there's no actual clear official line. It doesn't matter. The Republicans are eating it up. The Republicans are just like, I cannot believe 80% of them are for this. Because even like in my life, like the Republicans that I know and I talk to are pretty much universally against this. And I'm genuinely surprised it's that many Republicans who are supporting this war. If you said Republicans in Congress, I'd believe you. Republicans overall, it genuinely is a shocking number at 81%.
Really? You're shocked that it was 81? I mean, even after last year, when a smaller version of this happened, that Republicans all said they were anti-war all year long, and then in July, Trump bombed Iran, and it was June or July of last year, and the next day they were all for it again. Like I expected this.
This, but like that's different. Like genuinely, and I'm being honest here. That is a very different thing than what is going on right now. A targeted military strike that goes on for a 24-hour window essentially is something that it happens and it doesn't affect you and you don't really see much about it and then you move on. You know, it's not really the same thing as what we are now experiencing of a how has it been 3 weeks?
God, I can't.
2 to 3 weeks and no end in sight. That's a very different thing where entire, like, the economy is being directly impacted. We see it at the pump. We see all of these obvious impacts. It's constantly in the news. It's constantly being talked about. It's a very different thing than, oh, okay, well, it worked, so why are people upset about it? Like, this isn't working. And it is hurting people, like Americans, like themselves, the people who are talking about this. And so I'm just surprised. I'm surprised given the conversations that I have had with Republicans that I know that the number is that high. And maybe that's because the Republicans that I talk to tend to be of the more reasonable variety who don't just go in lockstep with Trump all the time. They just often find a way to say the Democrats are worse. But yeah, I'm shocked that it's that high. Like genuinely, it's very surprising to me because I would have guessed it would be much lower.
Wow, John. Yeah, I don't know. I have yet to see. I've only seen one time when Trump's base has gone against him, and that's with the COVID vaccine. That's the only time. And they didn't even blame that on him, amazingly. They just, like, he tried to take credit for it, and they got all, upset, and they booed. That's why it would have been interesting to see what would have happened if Trump was president in 2021 and Trump was in charge of administering the vaccine. I would love to see what would have happened then, because then they'd be kind of forced to say, oh, well, this is actually Trump's thing and not,
That
some
would have
sort
actually
of
been
cabal.
far worse. Like, because he would have had to go the red meat route there. Like when he was president and it happened, he got grace. But if Biden
Yep.
had done all that, he would have campaigned hard against all of that. And if he had won, there would be no vaccine. It would be very
No,
bad.
the vaccine came out. Like, the vaccine was done I think
That's what
by
I'm
like
saying. That's what I'm saying. Like, if the whatever Hillary or whatever Democrat was president in 2020, if that were the case, Donald Trump would have ran and probably won, and had to have been so hardcore against any sort of public health measure the Democrats took that there would have been no vaccine rollout. It would have been chaos.
Oh, so okay. So like I was saying that if Trump, like, we still had our timeline where Trump was president from 2016 to 2020 because the vaccine was finished by
And
December 20.
okay,
By
so you're
December
saying he had
22.
just retained his
Yes, if he had
position
stayed
as
in
president.
office,
Okay.
and he was like Operation Warp Speed was his thing. I don't think there's any chance he wouldn't have not administered it.
No, you're right.
But
He would have.
what I always joked with if once if Trump would have won the 2020 election, that would have made the world a much better place. He'd be gone right now. Like it'd be all over. We'd just be through with him, rather than having January 6th and the return of Donald Trump 4 years later. But if Trump won, he would have had to find, and I trust Donald Trump's instincts on this one. I think he could have found a way to thread this needle. He would have had to find a way to market the vaccine to the chuds. And I think he could have done it. And I know we joked about it on the show before. I definitely said it sometime. He would have to call it a potion or something. He couldn't call it a vaccine. He'd have to really subvert them. And yeah, he'd have to market it as the Donald Trump secret elixir. He would need to, and this is important. This is important. He would need to charge. You can't give it for free. They're not going to trust that. You would need to charge $85 a pop. And it comes in two colors, blue and pink, and you know why. And, just sell it to people that way, and it would work. I think that would have been a great way for Trump to actually get the vaccine across, because, the way you do it, like a civilized way, wasn't going to be accepted by the rubes. But no, how do we get on that? The vaccine.
You were surprised that was the only time you ever saw a Republicans actually turn on Donald Trump.
Yes. And I think he could have found a way to get them there. But anything else, literally anything else, like Epstein, we all heard that the Republicans would turn. They didn't. I did a war of Iran. They're not, and they're never going to turn against Donald Trump. Even now, John. Even now, I am so. If I wasn't on vacation this last week, I would have made a video on this. But I cannot tell you how many Republican voters, Republican pundits, and Republican, maybe not politicians, but people in power and office, they're saying that Trump is getting bad advice. Trump is being led astray by his advisors. Trump is getting his arm twisted by Benjamin Netanyahu. No, they're saying they're blaming literally everyone else other than Donald Trump. They just refuse to assign. Even that guy, wasn't it Joe Kent, the guy who quit?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
His letter said the same thing. His letter said that Trump is being led astray by these people. They will not let the buck stop with him. So I have no reason to believe they're ever going to abandon him. And I think that's good. I hear that people say, 15 years from now, all these folks are going to say that they weren't Trump fans. They'll denounce him. No, the fuck they won't. Did you ever watch that documentary on Netflix about David Koresh and his cult back in Waco in the 90s? Mm-hmm. I watched that fully expecting them to say that, yeah, that was kind of a messed up part of my life. I can't believe I fell for that. No, they all still believe 30 years later that David Koresh really was Jesus Christ. Okay, look, if he could hold on to those folks, Donald Trump's holding on to folks too. I think that these folks are not going to abandon Trump no matter what.
It's one of those things where it's like, you think you'll never be in a cult, and yet there's so many cults, and there's so many things that act like cults, because for whatever reason, part of our psychology really wants to be in a fucking cult. And most people don't recognize how many already cult-like tendencies they follow in their lives. And so, yeah, that is what we're dealing with here with Donald Trump. I just wouldn't have guessed that because I know that the cult part of the Republican Party, as you said, the MAGA Republican thing, there are the people who are true believers. They are in the cult. And that's about, we know, to be 30 to 40% of the Republican Party is that. Maybe even 50% now. But that's why I'm saying it's so shocking that it's all the way up to 80%, because we know that that's including the majority of the non-MAGA Republicans are also believing this, or also supporting this. And that's the crazy. If it was less than 70% or less, I would have been like, okay, I can buy that. It's the cult and then maybe half the other Republicans. This is the majority of non-MAGA Republicans supporting the war in Iran. And that is what confuses me. That's what surprised me. One real quick answer to a question here. Colby says, can you guys play the clip of Peter Griffin visiting the 9/11 memorial? And Brian lists off, Jesus, all the countries the terrorists were from, and Peter asks if that means we need to invade Iran. Colby, great clip, great reference. Unfortunately, if I play that right now, YouTube is going to give us a copyright strike. So just picture it in your mind, guys. Picture that clip. We're playing it right now. It's very funny.
Okay. The thing with I would like to see, because we say this a lot and we kind of take it for granted. And like I've said it a couple of times that, you have the Republicans, then you have Trump's MAGA base or whatever. I'm starting to doubt the difference now. I really am starting to doubt that there actually is some line of demarcation between MAGA Republicans and Republicans. Because how would you identify someone, a voter, as a MAGA Republican? It's all self-identified. That's the only way you would know. There's no way to distinguish who is MAGA, who isn't, unless they say, yes, I am MAGA, which there's a funny poll on CNN where it showed support for Donald Trump from MAGA Republicans, and it was at 100%. It's like, well, of course, that's what MAGA means. Like, it's definitionally means you support Donald Trump. So I am not as sure as most people are that the MAGA base is like 35% Republican Party. Donald Trump is the most popular Republican president I have ever seen. I have never seen anyone come close to this. Donald Trump received more votes in the Republican primary in 2016 than any Republican ever. He's the first Republican to win the popular vote in like 20 years. I just don't believe that all these Republicans, these like 30% or 50% or 60%, aren't just part of the Trump cult. I think the Trump cult is the Republican Party now. And to the extent that the Republican Party is not a Trump cult, those are people who aren't Republicans at all. They're just fans of Trump. That's what I think. I think you have like the cult members who aren't Republicans and then Republicans who are cult members. I just don't think that there is any distinction anymore.
And I think that's a fair point, TJ, because it's the only real way to explain why 81% of Republicans support the there's no other way to explain that. It reminds me, I keep thinking of that graph that we've discussed on the show, how it's kind of a bullshit survey that they made, but where the left side has opinions that are tightly clustered and the right side has opinions that are all over here. And how, while that survey was genuinely flawed, it does point out a very good fact that Republicans don't need any logical consistency in any way, shape, or form to agree with their cult leader. And like, that's what you're kind of describing, where it's like all of the explanations, all of these 4D chess arguments for how Donald Trump isn't to blame for any of this chaos that we're seeing. And none of them are coherent with each other, but they all agree it's not Donald Trump's fault. Just coincidentally, all of these incoherent, hypothetical arguments all seem to divert blame from Donald Trump. Although here's the thing, TJ, I actually think they are somewhat right. Like, I do think people are twisting Donald Trump's arm. I do think that there are people who are not Donald Trump who are really pushing for this shit. And Donald Trump, if left to his own devices, wouldn't really be about any of this that's going on. I'd imagine Donald Trump is sitting around right now being like, shit, I shouldn't have done this shit. Now I'm stuck and I have to see it out because I have to win. I can't lose. But I would imagine that this is one of those situations where other people manipulated Donald Trump into doing this, not that Donald Trump pushed for this himself.
Yeah, I guess I can agree with that. That maybe he didn't like spend his nights dreaming about this, something like that. I think the best observation I heard about this is that someone told Trump that this would be just like Venezuela. You take out one guy and then you replace it with someone else, or someone else rises to power. But that would require a plan to be in place for that to happen, and it doesn't seem like they had one. I thought they did. I gave Donald Trump too much credit. I assumed that he had someone waiting in the wings, that they were going to try to do some sort of CIA operation to get them in. Like, I don't know, but there was just nothing, and that's the only thing that confuses me. Well, the only thing, it's one of the many things that confuses me, that he was suggested to do this, but I refuse to believe he did it with no plan at all. That seems weird.
But that's what he did, TJ. That's the thing that again, when I was originally saying I support military intervention, there had to be a plan. It had to be quick. It had to be a successful operation, and it couldn't protract into a war. They literally, like, the Strait of Hormuz thing is just the most obvious possible retaliation that Iran could possibly have, and the fact that that seems to have caught us by surprise is batshit insane. Absolutely insane that we did not have a plan to secure the Strait of Hormuz before striking Iran. I don't even understand what, like, the whole month of buildup leading up to this was even for, if we didn't have any sort of plan to secure the Strait of Hormuz. That should have been objective one, and then the rest of the strikes should have happened. And the fact that they are now scuttling about trying to reduce oil prices indicates that they didn't think any of this would still be happening, or else they would have secured the Strait of Hormuz. It's just, there is no plan. We are just nuking fucking gas fields, not nuking literally yet, for no reason, and just obliterating the fucking entire global economy for reasons that no one can even seem to articulate.
Oh, that reminded me of a tweet that he put out. I got to read. But what you said reminded me of this clip. Trump did a press conference the other day that, like, a dozen bars of gold just came from that thing. It was so great. But this one I really enjoyed.
So it's a little unfair. You know, you win a war, but they have no right to be doing what they're doing. But we're hitting them very hard. And today is a big day where we're pounding a certain area that has very.
All right, that didn't cover as much as I wanted, but Trump was talking about Iran and them and their blockade of the Strait of Hormuz, controlling everything, and he says it's unfair. It's not fair that they're doing that. We won the war, and they get to blockade this whole strait for us and disrupt the world's economy. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about, man? What do you mean it's not fair? But the Iranians attacked an oil field in Qatar. No, it wasn't an oil field. It's a liquid natural gas field in Qatar. Did you hear about that?
Yes, very, very bad. And it's one of those things that you say it and you're like, okay, yeah, what happened? Why should it be a big deal? It's a massive fucking deal. Not only because of oil prices, but that plant in Qatar is responsible for a lot of the helium production that we need to create semiconductors, which, if you guys haven't been paying attention for the last couple of years, is like the reason everything is so expensive, is that semiconductors are really hard to make, and the people who control the production of them are very, very rich now. If you just want to look at NVIDIA's fucking stock price over the last 5 years. And yeah, it's crippling. It could be crippling if all of that is shut down. And it is. And it's just very, very bad. Iran struck basically, for anyone who is unaware, who isn't following this too closely, Israel struck one of Iran. There's a big natural gas fucking thing in the sea. Again, there's not a scientific explanation, but there was a gas field on the Iran side, and a gas field on the Qatar, I think it was Qatar, on the Qatar side, and Israel struck the gas field on the Iranian side, and that had been basically off limits because Iran was like, yeah, well, no one's going to fucking strike this. It would be dumb. We would just strike their side of this, and it would be bad for everyone. Then Israel did it because Israel doesn't give a shit. And then Iran blew up the Qatar side, and now everything's on fire. And it's just, again, this is a trillions of dollars to the fucking global economy sort of situation that is literally going up in flames as we speak.
All right, this is the post that I was thinking about with Trump with this issue right here. Trump wrote out, "This morning, the Trump administration was notified by the United States military that Israel was attacking Hamas, which very unfortunately was located in a section of Doha, the capital of Qatar. This was a decision made by Prime Minister Netanyahu. It was not a decision made by me. Unilaterally bombing inside Qatar, a sovereign nation and close ally of the United States that is working very hard and bravely taking risks with us to broker peace, does not advance Israel or America's goals. However, eliminating Hamas, who have profited off misery of those living in Gaza, is a worthy goal. I immediately directed Special Envoy Steve Witkoff to inform the Qataris of the impending attack, which he did. However, unfortunately, too late to stop the attack. I view Qatar as a strong ally and friend of the United States and feel very badly about the location of the attack. I want all the hostages and bodies of the dead released and this war to end now. I also spoke to Prime Minister Netanyahu after the attack. The Prime Minister told me that he wants to make peace. I believe this unfortunate incident could serve as the opportunity for peace. I also spoke to Emir and Prime Minister of Qatar and thanked them for their support and friendship to our country. I assured them that such a thing will not happen again on our soil. I have directed Secretary of State Marco Rubio to finalize the defense cooperation agreement with Qatar. Thank you for the attention to this matter. Oh, that is some grade A groveling right there. If you ever wondered if Trump is beholden to anybody, if Trump really wants to make sure people aren't upset with him, he's terrified of the Qataris being upset. He is just shaking in his boots. This reminded me when the girls' school was bombed and the Israelis came right out and said, hey, that wasn't us. Talk to the Americans. They're the ones who did it, not us. Just throwing them right under the bus and say, yeah, Netanyahu did this. That might signal as to some sort of rift between Trump and Netanyahu, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a rift between Trump and Netanyahu. And I do want to clarify here. We're talking about two separate things. When I was talking about,
I noticed that, yeah, something different.
Qatar, that's the one I thought you were talking about, and this is two completely separate things. Both Israel and Iran are striking Qatar, despite being at war with each other, and Israel and Qatar both being U.S. allies. It doesn't fucking matter, people. Anyone can get these fucking hands when it comes to Israel's fucking arsenal. It's all dumb. Like, I just genuinely, TJ, I fucking am loathing every moment of this now, because we've gotten to the point of just destruction for the sake of destruction. There really isn't even any objective. It's literally just fucking war for the sake of war. And I can't believe that we haven't evolved past this as a species. It is really fucking depressing that we are just destroying all of our own shit for no apparent reason.
It's been fun to watch JD Vance ever since this Iran war thing, because a lot of people had commented how JD has been suspiciously quiet after the initial attack, because JD, I was listening something the other day that, you know how we had these fears that Donald Trump is, a threat to democracy and, burgeoning fascism and everything, but he doesn't have any principles. So a real problem would be a smart Donald Trump. And there was a press conference a few days ago where he was talking about B-2 bombers. And he says, we have these B-2 bombers, bring it over here. And he has a toy B-2 bomber in his office. And he brings it up in front of the camera and he's showing everybody the B-2 bomber and everything. And a guy was saying that a smart person couldn't actually do this. You need someone dumb like Donald Trump for this to actually be successful. And so JD Vance is a lot smarter than Donald Trump. I mean, you just listen to the two people talk. You can tell which one is more intelligent, which is why JD's been pretty quiet. But what him being stuck in this Kamala Harris rocking a hard place here, where his boss is executing a very unpopular war, and he has to support it. That's his job. And it's just ruining his chances to run for office in the future. I love to see that for him.
Yeah, I do. Kyle asked you a question here. I want to get to it. He said, could countries in the Middle East band together to say if the USA doesn't break from or stop support for Israel, they will cut off oil to the USA? I mean, there's nothing preventing them technically from doing that, but why would they? As much as Israel is a menace and as much as Israel creates a lot of conflict in the Middle East, that's not the level of the cost of Israel to the other Middle Eastern countries is nowhere near the benefit of selling oil to America and maintaining good ties with us. They will happily deal with this pest in Israel, because Israel can't really kill them. They can just annoy them and harm them. But why would they want America to stop that badly to just cut themselves off from all of the good old-fashioned American money? It's just not going to happen. There's a reason that all of these countries have very strong ties with America. It's because it is a very mutually beneficial relationship. And Israel being Israel isn't going to stop that. As much as what they do is horrific, it just pales in comparison of scope. TJ, I see what you're pulling up for.
Yeah, Colby.
I
Colby
also
is
had that ready to go.
All right. So Colby commented here that Trump talked about surprises today with the Japanese president. I'm going to present this without commentary. Just let Trump do his thing here.
Of course, no, Japan and US are very good friends. But one question, why didn't you tell US allies in Europe and Asia, like Japan, about the war before attacking Iran? So
If you guys can understand that, this is a man asking why Donald Trump did not warn U.S. allies about the attack. This is a Japanese reporter.
Europe and Asia, like Japan, about the war before attacking Iran. So we are very confused about we Japanese citizens.
Well, one thing you don't want to signal too much, when we go in, we went in very hard, and we didn't tell anybody about it because we wanted surprise. Who knows better about surprise than Japan? Okay, why didn't you tell me about Pearl Harbor? Okay, right? He's asking me, do you believe in surprise? I think much more so than us. And
Okay, I think that's enough of that right there. Okay. I'm sorry, John. Sorry. Okay, all right. Now, we talk about Trump's comedic chops, right? This, I think, is evidence that he's kind of losing his fastball here, because John and I are the top Trump apologists on the left when it comes to his comedy here, because the first line was a hell of a joke. The first line was one hell of a joke. That was great. Who knows better about surprises than Japan? And the crowd laughed. Like, everyone laughed at the joke. It was great. It became bad when he tried to explain it. When he was saying that, well, why didn't you tell me about Pearl Harbor? And it's like, you guys know all about surprise. Okay, we got the joke, man. Now this looks bad. Now this looks rough. But man, that first line, who knows more about surprise Japan? I laughed when I heard it. How about you, John?
TJ, I hope that you take this as a compliment of the moment I saw that, I thought of you. It was just like, yep, that is a genuinely funny Trump comment, but I agree, his delivery of it's a good joke, it's a good, solid joke. His delivery of the joke failed to meet a high standard of execution. And you know what? Typically, I give him a pass for not being a comedian and being a politician. So like, I don't hold execution to the highest degree. But yeah, that was, you heard the room groan. They groaned.
Yeah.
I actually feel like he didn't deserve that groan. Like, it was still a fine joke, but like, yeah, he definitely is losing his fastball when it comes to his delivery. 100%. He still gets his zingers, but he has way more. It wasn't even a swing and a miss. It was a swing and a hit.
It was
yes. And then like running to third base instead of first.
Running to third base. No, yeah, that's good. I like the third, but yeah. Sorry, he had it there. I do think it's because he's nervous. Hey, Trump is on his back foot right now. We don't see it happen often where Trump is actually losing in popularity. But the Iran war, it's one of those things, like, even more than the Epstein stuff. I don't think the Epstein stuff is going to affect Trump at all. There's no way to deep fake or deep state your way out of this, right? This is a war, okay? This is real. We know he's actually been trying to do that. There was an aircraft carrier that caught fire. That was the Iranians said, "Oh, we hit an aircraft carrier." Trump's like, "Nope, that was AI. It was all computer generated." And then the Navy said, "Well, yeah, the ship, like, there was a laundry fire. It wasn't hit by the Iranians." And then there was an F-35. The first F-35 to ever get hit by enemy fire happened from the fucking Iranians. I mean, it's just like, this is a bad look, man. This is not going well for Trump, and I think he knows that. So, yeah, I think he's feeling a little bit nervous, and that's why he kind of poured it on a little bit more with he's like, oh, they laughed. They like me now. I'm going to keep going. We've all done that before, where you do something and people like it, and you go a little bit too far, but I think that's what's going on with Trump.
Yeah, and you're right. He is on the back foot right now. And again, this is why I say I concur with the people who say Donald Trump is sort of being manipulated into all of this. Now, where I will not go so far as to say the buck does stop with him, guys. He is the president of the United States. He is the one making decisions at the end of the day. So whether, even if you're saying, oh, he's being manipulated, well, fuck, that's just as bad. That's maybe even worse than he genuinely thinks this was a good idea. He didn't think this was a good idea, but he was manipulated by Israel into attacking Iran. Like, that's honestly worse than this was a good idea of his own that he decided to implement. And I also don't think that's the only reason. I think there's a lot of people who want a war with Iran for various reasons. That isn't just Israel drug us into the war as much as Israel did. There's a lot of factors at play here. Pete Hegseth fucking wants this. Pete Hegseth is foaming at the fucking Christian nationalist's mouth to go to war and have a holy war in fucking Iran. I definitely know that Stephen Miller fucking wants this. Stephen Miller wants any fucking war. Stephen Miller's all for fucking war. The more war, the better, because the more war we're at, the more power we can just take. And Stephen Miller loves fucking waging war as just a utility in his way he views geopolitics as a fucking game of Civ. You know, there's many people in the Trump administration that do want this, but I do genuinely believe that Donald Trump is like, what the fuck, guys? I hate that we are doing this right now.
It is particularly funny that Republicans spent 4 solid years saying, well, Joe Biden's not really there. He's being controlled by everybody else. He's not really the president. He's President Autopen. He's being run by all these other folks, to turn around to me and say, well, you can't blame Donald Trump. This isn't really his fault. He didn't do this. Like, he's been controlled by other people. He's being manipulated. He's being duped. Say, I thought you guys didn't like that. You guys just told me how awful that was. And now that's your excuse. That I don't remember anyone left doing that. I don't remember anyone saying that, oh, you can't blame this on Biden. He's not really in charge. He's being controlled by other people.
Oh, no, you're right. You're right. No one actually fucking did that. It was. Yeah.
Yeah, this is all Republicans. Like, they love saying that shit, and now that is their boy. That's somehow, there's a guy that I was friends with a while ago who, this was in the first Trump administration, and I can't even remember what was wrong. Like, something had gone bad, and I had tried to, this is back when I was being nice about Trump voters and saying, you know, like, we spent so many years saying that, you know, trying to hold these people's hands and walk them through this and everything, only for them to spit in our face for 3 straight elections. And a lot of times that they would say they were backing Trump because he was a wild card. He was outside the system. Trump was not part of the establishment, and we need someone like that. And then when he would get in office and fuck something up, they'd say, we got to understand, he's not a politician. No, you said that's what you wanted. Like, you can't use that as the reason you put him in, and then also as an excuse when he does something wrong. You can't have it both ways. And they keep trying to do this, that Donald Trump is a 4D chess master manipulator. He's got everything figured out, and he's being controlled by much lesser, you know, a lesser 3-dimensional being. It's just, once again, it's a cult. It doesn't make any sense, but it's frustrating to deal with. And go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna pop up 2 comments here. One, Colby, heartbreaking. Class clown just bombed. Great joke. Love the pun. Fantastic. And he also said, aptly renamed Department of War clears up. We're not at war. That's
God. We didn't talk about that. We didn't even talk about that.
I just can't. I can sit here and I can talk about, you know, should we be at war with Iran? Should we not? The fact that people are just doing this obvious doublespeak where Donald Trump himself continues to refer to this as a war. He renamed the Department of Defense the Department of fucking War. Everything about this is a war. The media calls it a war, but whenever, like, question any official capacity, congressional Republicans will be like, oh, well, this is a military operation. We're not at war. Well, this literally is 1984 shit. This is utterly insane. I don't know how people watch this happen and don't just blow a fucking gasket. Like, this is just so obvious. Up is down, down is up, red is blue. We've always been at war with Oceania. Like, I cannot believe that this is actually playing out in real life. As much as I can believe 100% of Republicans support the war before I believe that they genuinely are watching this and going, yeah, guys, this isn't a war, / it is a war, / I don't actually care if it's defined as a war. Not, like, how does no one care? You guys make a fucking hissy fit over the, oh, I can't properly gender you because it's not biologically accurate. But you this is fucking Schrodinger's war right now, and you have no idea what the fuck the word war means.
I like that Trump keeps calling it an excursion. Have you noticed that? Where he's always saying, we're just going on a little excursion. He does this little hand thing too. This little excursion.
We're on a cruise. We're getting off the boat. We're going on a fucking little go-kart ride around the sand dunes.
And we didn't even mention, I'm going to wrap up quick. We didn't even mention that Pete Hegseth just asked for $200 billion for the Iran war. Which
did it.
Right. I just took the balls. The balls on these people, right? To say that we're renaming the Department of War and then saying we're not at war, but we are. They're at war, but it's not really war. We've won the war. We need everyone's help. We've destroyed their military. We're still going to bomb them anyway. It's just none of it makes any sense. It's like it seems like it's supposed to be comedic or whatever. But yeah, I couldn't believe it when they asked. Now 200. Now these numbers get so big that they don't mean anything anymore, right? But the Department of Defense, like, every 10 years they make a new budget for these folks. And I think, like, Trump just asked for the first $1 trillion budget, right? Last year he asked for $1 trillion. He's asking for a fifth of that for one war that's lasted 3 weeks. And that's supposed to be just acceptable. We're still okay with that. I understand. But last thing I want to mention before we close out here, did you hear the terrible news that the metaverse is shutting down?
Yes, I did. And that is very, very funny. Very funny. They changed the whole fucking name to Meta because they were so invested in this fucking metaverse thing. It never got off the ground at any point, and they're now just shuttering it. Very funny. Extremely funny. I love every minute of it.
Is it made any funnier that they spent $80 billion on this project?
It's made, like, the only thing that would make it even funnier if they spent $100 billion on
it. This is like I'm not the first person to bring this up, but technology just kept getting better and better and better. And somewhere around 2012, it kind of leveled out. Like, we stopped getting cool new shit that made your life better. Like, believe it or not, folks, the internet used to be better than this. The internet used to be fun and interesting. Now it's just 5 apps. That's pretty much all you use the internet for. And when you go on these apps, you see screenshots of the other 4 apps. That's what the internet is now. It used to be actually fun to kind of go and look around. And the metaverse was going to be the new version of that. It was going to unlock virtual reality. We have this cool shit here. And the only thing the metaverse gave us, $80 billion in like 10 years, is this image. That's it. That's the only thing the metaverse has given us over time. It looks goofy. It looked shitty years ago when they brought it up. At the time, I was like, yeah, this is absurd. It's never going to work. And of course it didn't. But billionaires are not as smart as people think they are. So yeah, let's, any last comments on that, John?
No, just, I also just, if anyone is, works in marketing out there, Meta ads absolutely sucks. And it's been driving me up a fucking brick wall. So when I saw that they lost $80 billion on that, it was a little bit of karmic justice for me.
Love to see it, folks. Love to see it. All right. Well, you always end the show, John. I don't know how to do it.
All right. Let's end the show. Let's give it up for Wolfie. She clearly wants TJ to stop talking to you guys and pay attention to. Is Wolfie a girl or
Wolfie's a boy. Wolfie's a boy.
Wolfie's a boy. So Wolfie needs us to go now. Make sure to be here next week on Thursday. We will be talking Invincible. Catch up. Watch all the fucking episodes because we are going to, and we'll be talking about it on Thursday. Tuesday show, TJ?
We'll be here Tuesday. No.
We'll be here Tuesday. All
No
right.
Tuesday.
Oh, you will not be here Tuesday. Okay,
Right.
So no show Tuesday. Be here Thursday for our Invincible show. Until then, see you later.
Later, guys. Yeah, sorry.